What's up, everyone? My name is Lionel, and I'm your host for LT Productions. And you are watching I Watch You Watch. We are covering Married to Medicine. This is season 12, episode 6. I do appreciate everyone for coming to my channel. Thank you for all your support. Please support me by liking this video. You can also share this video and leave your comments. Subscribe if you are new to the channel. Now let's get into this week's episode. All right, y'all. So, it was a good episode for me. It wasn't drama filled, and I'm fine with it. Totally fine. They did the whole interlude thing, but it was the same repeat from last week, so I don't know why they did it, but purveyors of pop, check with your editor next time. We start off with Quad. She's invited Angel, Contessa, and Heavenly over, and of course she's got everything there. Food. Angel gets there, and she's wanting to have champagne and all that. Now, I don't know. I don't know what time of the day it was either. But I'm like, okay. At everything you gotta have champagne. But I'm not in that tax bracket, so who am I? Now, I know other folk on the show, Toya, that likes to show off and just thinks that you're really something because you have the best of everything. Whatever. But we're not going to talk about her right now. Contessa comes over, and her confessional dress and the dress that she had on look very similar. Only thing within the confessional, Contessa's got like, if you want to call it a choker type situation going on. I don't know exactly what she got going on, but hey, I don't know if that was detachable or whatever, but it looked very similar because I had to look at her like in the confessional. Like, wait a minute. But did anyone else notice it? Let me know. Well, we see that Quad has gotten thick. She's made it back from Ghana. And she gives the ladies as to what's going on right now. Right now they have 4 viable eggs, or they've been able to retrieve 4 eggs. They had a 5th one, but the 5th one didn't make it. So they are waiting for the results. We move on to the guys. Ken goes and visits Cecil and Eugene at the barbershop. I guess they all still live around the same area with all the with all the times that Toya and Eugene has moved. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Because ain't no way I'm traveling all the way over to the world for a haircut. But they could have just been filming the scene. So anyway, King gets to talking about some of his feelings, about his sacrifice even during this whole IVF treatment. And he's saying, you know, I can't really be selfish at this time. It's about putting her needs and da 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 da. Someone online was saying, well, aren't you both trying to have a baby? Yes. During this IVF process, it's really about the woman. They're trying to get Quad's, trying to retrieve an egg in order to put it in Quad's body. The number one thing that during this process, in the scientific way, King, all he has to do is supply the sperm, y'all. That's it. Now, does it come off like, oh, I'm just doing this for Quad, I'm doing this for Quad, I'm doing this for Quad? It could, but I think he knows that he's got to be there for Quad, even though it's very taxing on someone. Now, Cecil, I don't know why you was giving that type of advice, especially at how you've been treating your wife, at least at how your wife feels in the situation. I don't know if you should be saying that, but we'll get a little bit more clarity later on with what's their own talk. Some people think that King doesn't want to have this baby. Some people think that King is thinking about himself. He actually said, look, I'm taking away time from my job. I'm taking time away from my daughter. He spoke of those two specific things. And we find out later in the episode that they've traveled about 4 or 5 times to Ghana. I'm sorry. Because King is trying to be practical and realistic about this thing. Like, I don't know. I don't feel what you feel, but we're going to talk about him a little bit more later on. The next scene is Dr. Heavenly. Dr. Heavenly is meeting up with her brother that she never knew. Come to find out that Dr. Heavenly's father had some other children someplace else. He was married to Dr. Heavenly's mother, but how that they were doing the calculation, it looks like the father stepped out and did some things that was strange and developed some children. So she's meeting him or whatever. I don't know if they met before, but whatever. They were able to compare how he looked to his father, and she was looking at his daughters and could see herself in them. And there's no doubt in her mind that that's not her brother right there. Maybe this was part of why Dr. Heavenly's mother treated her and her siblings the way that they have. It could have. And a lot of women will go on and suffer to not try to out the man when they have been despicable and crazy. We don't want to say anything about your father. I get that to a certain extent, but at the same time, now you've taken out whatever life has handed you through this man, possibly. I'm just putting it out there, and you put it on your children that had nothing to do with what two adults, or at least an adult, did to you. Now there was something very interesting that Dr. Heavenly said. Dr. Heavenly said that I used to say that my father was the best man I ever known. When I found out about this, about my dad cheating and all that, that changed my perception on a man. I could have sworn that Dr. Heavenly said that also about Dr. Damon. That's where I first heard it from. I'm gonna leave that there. But if your perception is different, well, I know you'll never reveal this, Dr. Heavenly, but so is it jaded towards Dr. Daddy David? I'm just wondering, Dr. Heavenly. I'm just wondering. I know you're not gonna speak anything ill about Dr. Damon, so hey. But I just thought that was interesting. Dr. Heavenly is planning a family reunion, and we'll get into that in just a few minutes. And of course, she's invited him, the brother, to be there. Dr. Heavenly asked, could she pay the bill? And he said, no, I couldn't do that. That's something for a little brother to do. I'm the older brother. He's 59 and she's 54. I think that's what she said or whatever. So, yeah. All right, so we move on to the Whitmores. They finally have a talk. First, they talk a little bit about Dr. Heavenly's family reunion. They are invited, as the cast is too. And what they're having is a macaroni bake-off. And I'm going to give you a fun fact about me, but I'm going to wait till we get to the reunion part. But anyways, Cecil's the chef, Simone is not. She used to make it back in the day, but that's not her ministry. That's more of a thing for Cecil to do. Then they get on the whole subject of this whole Michael situation. She doesn't feel like Cecil has her back. She says that she is waiting for people to take some of this load off her. And you don't have my back. Simone ended up revealing that he does actually help out. Cecil helps out. I was like, oh. Because if we run with what the internet trying to say, is that Cecil's just this broke bum. And Simone's just doing everything. Do I think that Simone has the bigger check? Yes. And I think that's why he thinks he can have some type of a little say in it. I'm not saying this right or whatnot because, I don't know. If the roles were reversed, I just think that it would have been a total different type of conversation that we're having right now. Just saying. But anyways, they get into somewhat of a heated argument, but it's more Cecil raising his voice as passionately. I don't think he was just being disrespectful to her. It's like, well, you're trying to act like I'm not in this house helping out and all that good stuff. Simone didn't yell as she normally does. I think it got the conversation started. It didn't feel like, it seemed very open-ended still. I think that they'll be having another discussion, but y'all tell me if you think that they really came to resolve with this whole fight situation. All right, so we move on to the reunion day. We're seeing first Toya having Ashton. He's going to be the chef for the macaroni bake-off for the Bush Harris family. He's making the bechamel sauce. That's all I gotta say, y'all. That if you make that. But then Dr. Heavenly called Dr. Jackie about macaroni and cheese. She was talking about, I thought I heard this, putting Cheez-Its in the macaroni and cheese. We know that Dr. Jackie don't cook. So at first I was taking her serious, like, oh, so she know how to do that? And then I heard Cheez-Its. I thought that's what I heard. I said, ooh, no, we're not doing that. So I just want to let y'all know that macaroni and cheese is my all-time favorite dish in the whole wide world. I can eat that, and that's all I need. You make me a pan, and I will eat on that for the whole week. Now, I don't eat all that now, but that's the type of person, and that's the type of passion I have for macaroni and cheese, y'all. I don't need anything else. Give me that, and I promise you, I'm satisfied. But make it right. And it don't have to be with the bechamel sauce, but it's good and all that good stuff. Toya says that Eugene makes meals complicated. No, he's just not putting in basic stuff. He's putting his heart, his soul, his time, his love into his cooking, and he's making some extravagant recipes, Toya. But anyways, we get to the family reunion. Dr. Heavenly's there with her family. The brother and his wife comes and all that. She said, "Let me hug a wife." She's very traditional in ways that are interesting sometimes, but cool. Toya ended up making this crack that I don't think it was appropriate. But anyway, they see Zach there, but not Damon Jr. And she makes this crack of, oh, only one can show up, but the other one can't. But nobody is trying to say that Toya is talking about that child. I'm just saying. Toya won't cop to that, but she's taking little digs here and there. She ain't came out and said it just yet, but I think she's waiting for the day that that Dr. Heavenly pisses her off royally to actually say something or really, really mean and go there with Dr. Heavenly. That's what I think. In her confessional with Dr. Damon there, she said Toya need to be worried about other things, like with the small pain that Dr. Eugene has. Do I wish Dr. Heavenly would stop saying it? Yeah. However, I understand why she is saying it at the same time. Anyway. Oh, I forgot about this. They were talking about this at Quad's home with Dr. Contessa, Heavenly, and Angel earlier. Contessa brought it up first about Simone looks up information and digs dirt on everybody. And Dr. Heavenly said, yeah, she even wished that she was able to get the VIN number for the Rolls Royce that King allegedly bought Quad. Yeah. And Quad was like, why would she tell Heavenly this? You know that Heavenly's going to run back and tell me this stuff, so you obviously want a tongue lasher from me, basically. I was like, Lord, but we ain't going to really see any of that until the next episode. Good. We got a good, clean episode of nothing really dramatically happening. So anyway, I got to this reunion, but I didn't talk about Steve and Mimi. I got to back up, y'all. So we get this scene where we get a little bit more context and more of what Steve and Mimi and Dr. Mimi are going through with Stevie. They let Savannah go be with her grandmother, which is Mimi's mom, I think it was, to spend time there so that she could be a 7-year-old child. I mean, Savannah, along with them, have to kind of have to walk on eggshells to a certain extent because of the behavior and the mood swings that Stevie does operate in because of his special needs and all that. So I'm glad that these parents are emotionally intelligent, because I promise you, and they also have money and access, so that's probably a help too. But I think a lot of parents do make this a mistake in making the child, who may not have those same deficiencies, suffer alone. They can't completely erase it and make y'all less stress-free and all that, but at least give you moments in time to have a breather away from this type of ordeal that they got to go through. And I think that was so smart and so precious, because a lot of children end up really despising the parents when they grow up, because y'all put me in these predicaments. Y'all made me grow up faster than what I needed to do at that time, and I had to carry y'all burden along with you, you know. But anyways, I appreciate them and I respect them. But they were just talking. She was more like having an exhausting moment and a trying moment, because at the same time Stevie was cutting up, and a lot of times he's throwing stuff and ready to hit and all that good stuff. They were hearing Stevie or whatever, and Steve said, "I got it." Cool. So now we're going back to the family reunion. I had to bring that in. I forgot about that. So we're at the reunion. Did they? No, they didn't. Okay. So Quad and King, they approach in a Ferrari. and they was parking in the handicapped place. Anyways, little joke. I guess they didn't feel like walking today. But anyways, everyone shows up. Everybody's on their best behavior basically at that point after Toya's jab. Also, Angel brought a guy. His name is Bernard. I think he's a doctor or whatever. But Toya wanted to start picking in that situation. I guess Angel and Bernard have been on and off for a while, and they're still trying to figure it out on if they're going to be together or not. Kind of one of them situations. So Toya's prodding in, trying to see is she a good lover. Toya, not the time, not the place. But Toya went on to say that, you know, she's been asking me to hook her up with some people. And Angel was like, wait a minute, don't hate the game. You sitting up here, I'm trying to think of a sweet word. COCK, blocking. Slow your roll, Toya. Let me do what I'm doing over here. He could be paying for my mortgage for this month. Don't mess that up right here. But anyways, they have the macaroni bake-off. Toya was around basically stealing votes and telling people you need to put your vote in here, da 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 da. So Ashton won due to Toya cheating, even though she lied and said that they didn't. But they had a great time at the reunion. Heavenly said what she needed to say, thanked everyone, and da 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 da. So it was a nice time. It's interesting, but I'm not going to bring my personal self into this. Anyways, family reunions. It's interesting to see how many folks aren't really into family reunions. And I'll leave it like that because Simone talked about that there wasn't really a traditional family reunion. We would just go to Big Mama's house. And that was her grandmother. She would cook and all that good stuff, and they would have a good old time. And of course, the whole family, the wayward uncle or whatever, would get out of line, and different fights would break out, stuff like that. When they were talking about the brother, Dr. Heavenly's brother, Steve don't know who his father is. His mama is basically has taken him and some of her siblings on this wild goose chase and basically hop into I don't remember, which is sad. And in most cases, y'all do know, but for whatever reason, you don't tell. We'll leave it at that. But yeah, so I enjoyed the scene. I enjoyed all of that good stuff. Now let's move on to Quad and King. They get the results as to what is happening with the embryo or with the eggs. 3 of them are basically duds. 1 of them made it to another stage. However, it's been at this stage for too long, so it's probably not going to mature into an embryo. So basically, 4 of the eggs have not made it. She has no viable eggs. King, whom I feel is just being realistic, like, how much longer are we going to keep doing this? And is there an end date to this? And she was like, well, what are we talking about? You said that you were in this. I am in all of this, but I didn't know all of this. Quad says, yes, you did. He felt like it was going to be like one time. We'll do this whole procedure and all that. As this is new for you, Quad, it's new for him too. I'm sorry, y'all. And I just don't think that King deserves all the lashings that he's getting. However, I do understand how people can get, especially people that know of deadbeat fathers. They'll tell you, have my baby. I want you to have my baby. I want you to have my kids. And then they gone. When the relationship over, everything else is over. I really get that. I really do. He says that, look, I know how this is got to be emotionally on you. It's a lot of wear and tear. We're traveling back and forth. As I mentioned earlier, it's 5 times they've been to Ghana, traveling overseas. And then she said, well, you know, I still want to have a child. And you don't have to put any more expenses in it. He said, that's not the thing. It's part of it, but it's not like, is this really making sense? And all the essence of what King is saying. Does this all make sense? Who cares if you have the money? It's money down the drain. She felt like a failure because those eggs you're throwing different like parties or get-togethers where people are praying over you to make sure you have all this going on. And it's good that you have the money, but does it make sense, Quad? And I don't know if you wanted to try, because it seemed like you want to carry the child. What if a surrogate could help? I know you want the child or whatnot, but you're still trying to make the eggs and all that good stuff. Folks feel like, oh, well, she spoke on T's ability to have children. No. Quad spoke on what T did to try to get Greg. And she has not lived up to her promise, as she said. She was calling that out. That's totally different from someone's trying to say that they got scrambled eggs. You know that read that y'all love from Phaedra so much, and you love that happened to Kenya, but now y'all come over here on this show and you got a different attitude. Anyways, I'm still sticking up for King at this moment. And I just don't understand why he can't have his own thoughts and opinions and feelings in this whole thing and just support. If it was the other way around and Quad didn't want to have the child, a lot of y'all would say, hey, don't do it if you don't want it. Don't do it. Don't do it, Quad. Don't do it. I know it's certain situations between a male and a woman. It's different. But I just don't think that y'all would have this much passion for the ones that have this type of passion, because King is just trying to make sense out of this whole situation. But yeah, that's what I got, y'all. And y'all free to disagree and all that good stuff. It's just I'm not seeing the disrespect or the lack of not wanting to have a baby with Quad. It's this process that's taking its toll. And I don't think that it's wrong for him to actually have something to say about it. That's how I feel, y'all. At least express it, no matter if it's how he feels in the moment or he could come along a little bit later, whatnot. I don't know. I'm taking things at face value right now. And I don't think that he would have been pumping out all this money, pumping out all this time, sacrificing time from his daughter just for a process that's not a 100% guarantee that it's going to actually work. I don't think that he would take his time to comfort Quad, hold her, all that stuff, if he's not really in it. Again, as I said, does it make sense at this point in all that they're trying? But that's all I got, y'all. I appreciate everyone that came by. Like, comment, subscribe. Until the next one. Peace.